Hello and welcome back to another Indianapolis Colts podcast. Thank you for joining me on a beautiful Wednesday afternoon as the Colts will host the Atlanta Falcons in week 3 of the NFL on Sunday afternoon in Lucas Oil Stadium. I'm going to talk a little bit today about the Colts' impressive road victory against the Tennessee Titans to get them to 1-0 and head of the AFC South at the moment. And we're going to talk a little bit about that and some things that have stemmed from that game that I didn't already mention in my post-game analysis from that on Sunday. I will break down and kind of give some keys to the game of the Falcons game after I talk a little bit about what we saw this week and just kind of some updates that I've gotten throughout the week. I'm going to lead into that with the big headline from the Colts for the past couple of weeks, which is the kicking situation. Adam Vinatieri will continue to kick for the Colts this week, and he has another week with the system now. And Frank Reich has so much faith in Adam Vinatieri, and we're seeing that more than ever as he continues to say that he has no worries in the kicking situation at all. And I think that's great because I think a lot of this for Vinatieri might be mental. He missed a couple in the first game, and now this has not happened to him, I'm sure, and it hasn't happened this bad in a stretch in his entire career. This kicking woes that he's had continuing to the end of last season. He was a average kicker at best last season, looking at his numbers, and now he's getting it into his head and he's missing kicks, missing extra points, under 35-yard kicks. It can't happen. And 99.9% of kickers in the league, if they would have done what Adam Vinatieri did in week 1 and week 2, they would have lost their jobs. Adam Vinatieri is the outlier, however, because he is the greatest kicker of all time. And he does have some merit, of course, with his ability to kick in clutch situations. And sometimes, as we've seen with the Cody Parkeys in the world and, all the troubles with kickers, and in those crunch time situations, you need a guy that's going to come in there and just boot it home. Well, Adam Vinatieri has done that for his whole career, and that's what's made him the greatest kicker of all time. But now we're seeing some things that you don't like, and they're calling it mechanic issues. Frank Reich said that the first kick was a faulty snap, so hard to say. And I'm just going to defer all of this to Frank Reich and Chris Ballard, and they are fully aware of the situation. They know that he's missed these kicks, and they're going to trust him to come home and see what he does. But I did like to see that the Colts did work out some kickers, so they are being at least a little proactive in that if Vinatieri continues to struggle, they're going to have to make that tough business decision. But I do think he's going to improve at home, and hopefully he does have a perfect game. The other news coming out of this week was Darius Leonard had concussion-like symptoms after the game, and he is now in the concussion protocol. As of now, he is not at practice on Wednesday afternoon, and we have not seen him come out. And we've seen guys like Pierre Desir and also Kemoko Toure come out to practice on Wednesday, and these guys were going to be limited. Desir was obviously hurt on Sunday afternoon, and Toure has been out with a neck injury. I believe that's what he had, and he's been dealing with that for several weeks. But Darius Leonard not coming to practice or not being a limited participant on Wednesday practice is not necessarily great for his chances for playing on Sunday. I thought that the Colts writer Kevin Bowen in his podcast earlier this week really did a good job in mentioning that the Colts last season, they had 6 guys that had concussions. 2 of them ended up playing the following Sunday or the following week. And so looking at that chances there, that's kind of your chances for Darius Leonard. And with him not practicing on Wednesday, that was going to be something that we were going to keep our eyes on. And that didn't happen today. So we're going to see what happens. That's going to be a big blow for you if you don't have Darius Leonard. He led the team in tackles last week with 10 and had the sack for you as I don't have to give reasons that Darius Leonard should be in the ball game, of course. So that's going to be something to monitor, of course. And Pierre Desir being at practice today, huge step for him playing on Sunday. And we also like to see Teray getting in the mix there, as hopefully he can get back and have some pass rushing success against this Atlanta O-line, who they've heavily invested in but have some injuries at the moment. So today I'm going to lead it off just kind of breaking down Jacoby Brissett a little bit more. And that is, I went back and I watched some 2017 tape from him, and also from his time at NC State after he transferred from Florida after his first couple of seasons there. His best time is at NC State. In 2014, he passed for 2,600 yards, 23 touchdowns, 5 interceptions, with 59.7 completion percentage and a 136.7 QBR, which the college system is a little different from the NFL, so that doesn't really matter. So that is a solid year, especially for his first year into a system and at NC State. The next year, it was just about the same: 2,600 yards passing, 20 touchdowns, 6 interceptions, 60% completion percentage, and 130.3 QBR. Those were impressive, not gaudy necessarily, numbers from college. And looking at his tape, he wasn't always a risk taker. You look at his picks. He only has 5 picks his first season at NC State, 6 in his final year there. So what I've wanted to see is, does Jacoby Brissett have the ability to continuously and oftentimes throw the ball down the field? Because we haven't seen it yet this year from him, even though we've seen some positives from Jacoby. This year, or in 2017, he had 3,098 yards, 13 touchdowns, 7 interceptions, 58.8 completion percentage, and an 81.7 QBR. And, remind you, the QBR system is a little different from NFL to college. The yards that season were up to par. And I thought that year, and I looked back at film, and I just, from my memory that year, is he struggled to run the offense. And this is a completely different offense, and he was just thrown into that. And he's in so much of a different position now than he was in 2017. And I thought that a lot of times that year, he looked, at times he looked scared. Not scared is a bad word to use there. He was not ready for that role to come into that offense where he didn't know necessarily everything and just got thrown into it in 2 weeks. And there were times when it was shaky with the offensive line being the way that it was then. We didn't have Quentin Nelson. We didn't have Braden Smith or Glowinski. That all of that had not formed yet. And Brissett struggled. He had got sacked a ton that year. It was a rough go for him. But looking at his completion percentage, it's almost exactly what it was in college. 58.8. It was 59 his first year, 60% his second year in college. So that speaks to me consistency. So a 60%, I'm marking it down on my sheet right here. 60% is about his average that he has done his whole career. That's not going to make it in the NFL. Andrew Luck, I don't know it off the top of my head. I believe he was around a 70% for his career completion percentage, which is about what you want for your quarterback. If you can be, even 60% is kind of the above average ish. You want to see above a 50, of course, and the higher you go, that's just, anybody can break that down, right? The higher the percentage, the better, of course. But this guy has shown that he can be consistent with it and not turn the ball over. It's 7 interceptions last season, and that's right what he was in college. So he's shown you that he's consistent in the fact that he's not turning the ball over, and he's completing his passes at a consistent rate, and he has been since you've watched him at NC State, right? Jump ahead to this year. He's thrown for 336 yards, 5 touchdowns, 1 interception, has a 69.1% completion percentage with a 107.8 QBR after 2 weeks. These are steps in the right direction. Okay, so fans, when you want to see things in the right direction, you have to break it down, right? And this is doing that. The yards, looking at the yards, that's the biggest thing that people look at when you're breaking down things because it's the easiest to see. But if you go beyond the yards, there's more to it. And Jacoby's game is not perfect. And I'm going to break that down a little bit more. The yards have to go up. 336 yards is about what an NFL quarterback should be throwing in one game, right? Let's be honest. That's an NFL game for a quarterback. That's what Andrew Luck, that's what you wanted him throwing in a game. So that needs to step it up. That this goes back to my point that he needs to be, or the Colts need to be finding ways for him to get the ball down the field a lot better than they have been. And you look at his stats and for this year, and he's trending in the right direction. He's almost 10% higher in completion percentage than he has been his entire career to this point, and that's only 2 weeks. It's not a huge sample size, of course. So we're at eighth of the way through the season now after 2 weeks. So this is not telling who Jacoby Brissett is after 2 games. That's why we don't know. We have no idea. But I do like to see things that are trending up, and you see consistency and in his low turnovers, even though last week he did have 2, the fumble and the interception. Hopefully he continues the trend of just not throwing many interceptions, and his quarterback rating right now is 107.8. That is what you want for an NFL quarterback. So Jacoby Brissett, I'd have to give him, if I had to give him a grade, Andrew Luck was an A, okay, and Peyton Manning A+ in my grading scale. So if that gives you an idea, I'll give Jacoby Brissett after the first 2 games of the 2019 season a B-. Okay, he has a lot of things to improve on, and I thought that the game against the Chargers, you saw some things that you wanted from a starting quarterback, and even against the Titans, his ability to lead them down and get the game-winning touchdown. Of course, that was a lot of Jordan Wilkins, as the Colts had not done anything over 15 yards the whole day, and that was a big time for you, of course. But Jacoby Brissett, we're going to see how the Colts are going to include him in this offense and make him pass the football. We know that the Colts are going to run it as Marlon Mack leads the league in rushing attempts. But are the Colts going to be able to be a passing offense again with Jacoby Brissett as your starting quarterback and not Andrew Luck? That's going to be the question. Frank Reich has addressed that the longevity of the passing game needs to get better, and I think that it will. So that's moving on from that. That's a little bit too much about Jacoby Brissett. A B- grade, and I'm seeing strides in the right direction. I hope that gives you a little bit more of a breakdown there. The next thing I wanted to talk about was Marlon Mack and what you're seeing from him right now. Just wanted to touch on this pretty briefly. Didn't have a great game last week. It was hot temperatures. They were rotating different running backs in with Wilkins, of course, and you saw him kind of struggle and only get, what was it? Oh, it was 2.5 yards per carry in week 2. He is third in the NFL right now in total rushing yards with 225. And also want to mention the point that the most rushing attempts in the NFL after week 2 belongs to Marlon Mack. So the Colts are just pounding the football right now. And we know that they're trying to because of this offensive line, they believe in him so much, and as they should. But I would like to see a little bit more passing here in week 3 at home. Put the ball in Jacoby's hands and let him throw down the field. You have the playmakers with Paris Campbell, Deion Kane, T.Y. You've got apparently a stellar athlete in Eric Ebron. You've got the weapons for him. Just let him throw the football. And that's what I want to see. But Marlon Mack, of course, I'm not taking anything away from him. He's had a stellar performance thus far. As week one was one of the biggest rushing days in Colts franchise history. So Marlon Mack has been the MVP of the team thus far, even though he didn't have a great performance. Well, okay, the MVP of the team might not be Marlon Mack after 2 weeks. I might have to rethink that one a little bit, but he has been an important part of this team so far. So you like to see that. And leading into the Falcons, what I think, and a little breakdown before I get too far into it. I think that you've got to worry right now about taking away the Falcons' biggest threat and what won them the game in week 2, and that's Julio Jones. Julio Jones is by and large the best player on the Falcons. Going to be the best player walking in to the Lucas Oil Stadium. We just know that. I don't think the Colts have a player as good as Julio Jones. He is a freak. He's, I think, probably the best receiver in the NFL, and it's going to be a test for these corners. What the Colts are going to do against this, because you have a competent quarterback who won the MVP in Matt Ryan and almost won a Super Bowl a couple of years ago with Julio Jones. And we're going to see. Malik Hooker has been really good about not giving up big passing plays. I want to see it put to the test this week. They're going to have to take away Julio Jones. I don't know if Pierre Desir is going to have to shadow him or if they're going to have to do some over the top with the safeties. I don't know. But you have to take away Julio Jones. And if that means double teaming him, triple teaming him at times, do whatever you can to take him away, because if you put the ball on the ground, I think the Colts made strides last week to stop the run, and I think they're going to continue to get better because that was kind of their strong suit last year. And I think that the emphasis is going to be continuing to stop the run, but you've got to take away Julio Jones, even though the Falcons do have Calvin Ridley and guys like Mohamed Sanu and Hooper. They have a really high-powered offense. And they're coming in here. You've got to be able to stop this, but you've got to take away Julio Jones. I want him taken away more than anything. And don't just do what you did with Keenan Allen in week 1 and just treat him like a normal receiver, because he did, kind of cut you a few times. And Julio Jones is going to do it even more, I think, if you don't come at him a little bit more, press him at the line and take him away. Make sure get pressure on Matt Ryan. You like to see Teray back in the lineup. Hopefully he gets into the mix a little bit, as hopefully we'll see him and hopefully see a little bit more from Justin Houston. Didn't see him a whole lot last week. He did have a couple tackles, but do want to see him in the backfield a little bit more, as the Falcons have invested heavily in their offensive line, but have dealt with some injuries here lately. So I think that pressuring Matt Ryan, limiting Julio Jones, and just stopping the run here on defense, these are the keys. Because I think that the offense, to me, I think that the offense can do enough to win this game. I do. I believe in the offense. I think it's going to come down to defense, special teams, because I do believe in this offense right now. But the keys to the game are going to really be on this defense. How are they going to stop one of the best receivers in the league and a good quarterback? They haven't faced a whole lot of good quarterbacks. Really haven't. They faced Phillip Rivers in week 1, and you had Mariota, who is unaverage at best. And you don't see a whole lot. So Matt Ryan he's a little up and down, of course, but you're going to see two guys. So my keys to the game: pressure Matt Ryan, limit Julio Jones. These two guys, I have them starred right now on my list right here. The Colts need to have them big stars around their names on the whiteboard as they're breaking it down this week, and I'm sure that they will. They know the ins and outs on how to take away. As we've seen with the Colts have done pretty well last season with taking away guys like DeAndre Hopkins and some of the others that and Ezekiel Elliott, just guys that they've been able to come at and take away from your ball game and make the other guys make plays. So we're going to see how the Colts do that this week, as I think that the offense is going to be able to get the job done against this Falcons defense. As I've seen them for the first 2 weeks, there are some holes there, and I think that the Colts are going to find that there are a little bit of holes and are going to be able to get the running game going at home. Hopefully Jacoby Brissett gets alive a little bit now, as I've mentioned, and we're going to see how the Colts do at home this year and their home opener, and I'm really looking forward to it, as this is getting into it this year. I mean, we still don't know who this team is. We still don't know the Colts. I mean, we think we know, but after 2 weeks, it's just not far enough into the season. Not a big enough sample size, and especially for Jacoby Brissett leading the helm, we don't know if this guy is going to be the answer of the future. I think that he has the potential, and you've seen some great things from him. I think he looks calm this year. I think that he's leading this team, and he has a calmer demeanor than he's had in his whole career looking at his tape, I do think. And he's got a confidence in him, and I will have confidence in him as well, as he has led this offense to a 1-1 start this year. So my predictions for this game, this one was a tough one. I kind of went back and forth with it. I think the Colts they opened up as 2.5 point favorites at home. I'm going to have them winning this game 20-14. I think the Colts get it done at home, and hopefully that 20 comes from Adam Vinatieri getting 2 field goals instead of missing a point after attempt. That's what I'm hoping for this week, and I think that the Colts are right around 20 point. That's about what they're going to score this year. Hopefully you can get a little bit higher than that, as your defense, you can limit them to only 14 points. It's going to be a high-powered offense, but we'll see. This has the potential to be kind of a shootout, but I think that it's going to kind of be more defensive-centric, and we're going to see how the Colts defense matches up against the offense and vice versa, as that's going to be the keys to the game for both teams, I think. So that's my predictions. I think the Colts are going to walk away out of here 2-1 and feeling good about themselves. As last year, that was not the case, as they started 1-5, of course, and now this year they're looking to get even better than what they did last year. So getting a win here at home against a Falcons team who is very beatable, and who the NFL has ranked lower on the power rankings than the Colts. So I think that the Colts really should get this game done, and I think a lot of people are thinking that as well. So thank you for joining me. I don't want to make this one too long today, and we're going to see how Jacoby Brissett continues to lead this team. We're going to see how Ty continues to impress, and how Marlon Mack, if we're going to see him continue to be that dominating force and continue to lead the league in rushing attempts for most of the season. Will that happen? I don't know. Well, we're going to see this week against the Falcons on Sunday. Thank you for listening. Leave a comment down below if you got any questions or want to have any comments. I do read through those and appreciate those, and appreciate that. Thank you for listening to another Indianapolis Colts podcast, and I hope you have a great rest of your week, and we'll talk to you after the game on Sunday. Thanks so much.